Guys, Working Class on Deercast. We're back for another episode. Kurt Geyer here, and joining via the interwebs, my buddy Shawn Polke from the East, the Great East, is here. What's up, man?
How's it going, man? Good to see you again.
Good to see you. We miss you here in the Midwest.
I know I need to get back. I need to next year. I gotta definitely make plans to get back out there again.
I know. I figured this fall was going to be the fall that you'd come back to Illinois and try and chase another buck around.
I would have if Dan was going to go, but Dan, with work, he couldn't make it, and I didn't really want to make that drive all by myself.
It's good to have a buddy, but now like we have the studio, you have a built-in hunting camp in Illinois to stay in.
Yeah, but that drive is long by yourself. But I mean, you drive out to Wyoming, so that's no big deal to you.
For people who don't know, who are you? Where are you from? And then how far a drive is it from where you're at to Illinois?
So I'm Shawn Polke. I'm originally from Connecticut, and that's where I'm at right now, where my family lives. But I live in Virginia now, Southeast Virginia, and to get all the way out to where you're at in Illinois was about 15 hours.
Oh yeah, that's easy work compared to my drive to Wyoming. I got like 22 by the time I get to like where we start hunting.
Yeah, that's a hike.
15. But it's like becoming numb to it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've done it how many times now?
Too many. Like I'd be better off to just get like an apartment out there, like a cheap one-bedroom apartment, and just kind of like just keep my stuff there at this point. But no, man, I thought this would be fun to talk. You know, there's a ton of hunters out in the eastern states, and I'm being very vague when I say eastern states, but I think everybody knows what I mean. There's so many hunters, so many good hunters, and a ton of passionate hunters. And I kind of feel like from the WCB platform perspective, and even with Deercast and Drury Outdoors, we're so Midwestern based, which I do consider it's the heartland. It's the king for whitetails, right? It's the king states for whitetails where we're at. So I feel like a lot of eastern state hunters might get a little frustrated with some of it. Maybe it is not relatable, and some of the content that gets put out normally in the whitetail world. Do you feel that way?
No, I mean, to me, that's like the pinnacle is hunting out there. So I like hearing about that because it might not necessarily be exactly how the hunting is out where I am, but I mean, that's the kind of hunting that I dream about and like places that I want to go and, target whitetails.
Okay. That's an interesting perspective, but you don't feel like, man, I wish they do more Eastern stuff. It's more relatable.
Me personally, I don't.
Interesting. I wonder if I interviewed 10 guys that hunted primarily Eastern states, what percentage would have your similar answer?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like that the content and like that Midwest type of hunting content, just because. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we have some big bucks out here, and there's definitely areas that have big bucks out here, but you're not going to have a whole ton of stories about guys shooting booners out here as much as and as often as your crew shoots big bucks out there.
Would you say where you're at in Virginia, what's like, like you could say like a 135 to 145 class buck here is like, you're getting into like what a big buck looks like. It's a great buck. Not huge by any means. Of course, you get your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, and then your freaks. I'd say anything 65 or bigger is getting into that freak range for most people, right? Like there's exceptions to the rule no matter how you slice it. But if a 35 to a 45 buck is like where a buck starts to get big here, what do you think comparable would be?
So Virginia, I would say that's probably the same in Virginia. They kill a lot of like really nice deer in Virginia. There's some Facebook pages that I see some pictures, and my dad, he's on there too, just to check it out. And he's like, man, I can't believe those are coming from Virginia. Now the bodies are small, but like up in Connecticut where I mainly hunt now, if you shoot Pope and Young like that, I'd say that's a really good deer here.
Yeah, so it's like a 10-inch or more creep from some of those, I guess, lesser genetic, and there's a lot working against some of those eastern states as well. But
yeah, I mean, up here, there's definitely, I've sent you some trail cam pictures of some good ones that I've had, and we have some good deer here. You just don't find them as regularly as where you guys are.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's different reasons. I mean, Connecticut, we have, I mean, you could shoot, God, just your bow tags, you could kill 2 bucks. If with gun tags, you could kill one with shotgun, one with muzzleloader. So, I mean, you could kill a lot of bucks here. And, a lot of people just aren't into letting the younger ones grow and get to reach maturity.
They're just filling tags pretty much and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I mean, when you get that many tags, a lot of people are like, well, if I see a big one, I'll still have another tag for that one. So I could shoot this spike when I have an opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like too, because Illinois as a resident, like I can shoot 2 bucks with my bow. That's why I always buy 2 combination tags right off the rip, because you never know. You could get lucky that one year where a big buck comes in and you put an arrow through him, and then here comes another one. If you don't have your other tag bought, then you're SOL. But I feel like that, and I've been guilty of that. It's like shoot a good buck and then hold out for the bigger one. But you always try to shoot a big buck. So I don't know if that's good or bad, or if that hurts or helps, but it's nice knowing I can shoot 2 bucks as a resident in my home state,
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I used to, growing up, I mean, I was all about filling the freezer, and, our family ate a lot of deer meat. So I was all about shooting whatever buck or doe that I had opportunities at, because I was the same way. I knew I had more tags.
Mm-hmm.
But now I've gotten, kind of graduated to the next level where I want to let the younger ones, and now that we have our own farm where we could manage them and let them grow, I'm about letting them get, not necessarily having to be monsters, but get to maturity and hunt mature bucks now.
Yeah, because mature doesn't always mean giant antlers.
No, I mean, here, I mean, I killed one, I guess it was 3 years ago now. It was aged at 7.5 years old, but he was, no giant by any means. He was nothing crazy. He was a good 8-pointer.
Do you ever hear the story about that buck that was in Indiana where we were hunting? We called him for this series being clean, we called him WD.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And that buck really needed shot, and I should have shot him. I don't know how old he was, but like just a bully, but like no rack on him. Like for people who would have no idea about the deer, depending on how he looked in the photos and how you like presented him, if you could showcase his maturity in a photo, then people would be like, wow, that thing's ancient. But if they just looked at the antlers, you'd think 1.5-year-old.
Wow.
Like I'm talking just like scrub, broke every tine off, but just an old, mature, just bully. So I don't know if he's still around. He's got to be 10 now.
Yeah, so up here, that buck, for being 7.5 up here, that was really, like, to me, was really impressive. I haven't heard of it.
It's impressive anywhere.
But that was pretty cool, because I just knew he was older because I had previous pictures of him from previous years, so I recognized him. But
so you've hunted Illinois, you and Dan came out. What's your favorite thing about hunting like the Midwest, like from that experience? And then I want to compare, right, some of your Eastern state experiences to like that, what you said earlier, like it's what you dream about for whitetails, is being in the Midwest.
Yeah, so coming out to hunt the Midwest, I mean, granted, I know not of 150s around every corner, but that you have that opportunity to run into a world-class animal.
Mm-hmm.
Out here, it's still possible, but it's kind of a 1 in a million opportunity to run into a booner. But even on public land out there, I still knew that opportunity was there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, what draws you out there, and just seeing the type of terrain and habitat that you kind of watch, watching hunting shows on TV, like watching jury shows, and just seeing the difference and from how it is out here. And it was cool to get out there and get to experience that and just really see like a lot of deer sign. Like we don't have, at least where I hunt, I don't see those defined, like a blind man can walk into a trail and see like, oh my God, like the deer are using this like a highway. Like,
oh, really? That's an interesting comparison.
No, at least where I hunt, there's like, except for where they're coming into like a food plot that we have. I mean, a couple of those entrances, I mean, that you could tell that they're using that heavy. But
Yeah.
other than that, most places, it's a lot of random movement. They're not necessarily always using like a specific trail.
And I
But
wonder if that's like the deer density here is greater. I don't
uh,
know.
I don't know if that's it, or if it's just the way the habitat is set up, or um I'm not real sure, but it's just, we have a lot of like really mature hardwoods where I am, so I don't know if there's just a lot of open area for them to walk in the woods, or what it is, but it's,
Yeah, that might make sense. So is that what a lot of guys refer to as the big woods? You know, it was here.
yeah, I think so. I mean, now some areas of where we hunt in Connecticut, like there's a lot of people that hunt residential type areas where you might be hunting on an acre or a couple acres, and some people sit in a tree stand and can see somebody at the kitchen sink in there, next door. But the areas that I hunt have a lot more of what I would call like a big woods feel, kind of.
Mhm.
And we don't have the really like a lot of ag like you guys have out there.
Yeah,
Um,
our ag, I think, opens up a lot of opportunity to create game plans from a map. And I know like a lot of big, you're combing through with a fine tooth comb to find game plan areas when it comes to big woods that might not have the terrain you want, but like our fields and cuts into the timber, and now they're just trying to squeeze everything they can out of fields here in the Midwest. So there's a lot of pinches and cuts, and so it's like good starting points to look at. And I think that has a big effect on how deer move naturally through the topography, kind of like man-made, inflicted, I guess.
yeah, and like where I hunt, like in Connecticut, we have no beans. Like I've never seen beans anywhere in Connecticut. The areas
Really?
I hunt, it's all corn, like silage corn for cattle.
Feed and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of dairy cows, and a lot of hay too.
Hmm. Yeah. Soybeans are good, man. Like they're good early and then they're good late, like now, time of recording this, like all the beans are changing and now a lot of deer are off beans. So that's like right now at this time, I'm seeing a lot of new deer or deer that I was expecting to see, just with like the crop rotation and stuff like that. So like that plays a big factor. And like deer you see in the summer, deer you see or don't see in the fall, or when they show up, at least in my experiences. I'm sure a lot of guys could argue that, but so that's one thing you don't even have to really worry about out east is
No, I mean, like the farms that I hunt, we got probably 15 acres of corn on our farm right now. And they plant that really late, and that'll probably won't come out until sometime end of next month, probably.
Mhm.
Um, and the other farm, he's already cut all the corn, and they probably only had 5 acres of corn, or maybe 7 acres of corn there. And then they just do hay fields the other places. But when we have good acorn years, that makes it tough because they find food everywhere.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. And it's a lot of guys start throwing the word lull out there
Yep.
because they're in the timber. But so like that corn, since you guys have significantly less ag, like is that corn like a huge attractant? Like is it I could, because my perspective is if we have corn everywhere, it's not a
Yep.
big deal for a deer to get into a cornfield. Out there, is it like, yeah, we have 15 acres corn. Like it seems like when they cut corn here, deer are in it like right away. Is it that way there? Is it like as crazy of an attractant as I would think from a Midwest mindset?
So I do see it, but our farm, our corn is up closer to the road and to the house, so
Mm.
they definitely will hit it. Some of the more secluded fields that used to be corn that now we do food plots in, when those were cut, I mean that evening, like early evening, I mean they'd be out there, but they wipe it out pretty quick, and then whatever's left, and then it's done. But when we get bear, the bear knock down a lot of corn and do a lot of damage. So I don't mind when that happens, because then that leaves a good amount that they can't get with the machine, and then we
Right.
got that left, and the deer were hitting that about December last year. They were hitting that pretty hard last year.
That's something I never considered, is like you guys have bears. I always forget about that.
Yeah, and we can't even hunt them, but I mean, they're in Connecticut now. We're getting more and more and more, and it's crazy. They
You can't
just
hunt bears? Is it just, I know Carolinas have like some of the biggest bears, but like Virginia, you can't hunt them?
Virginia, you can.
Yeah.
Virginia, I mean, Virginia and Carolina, you could hunt them. But Connecticut, we can't hunt them yet. But hopefully that'll come. But I don't know.
It'd have to, unless I don't know how Connecticut is with its politics, but a lot of people get weird about bears real fast. I'm sure it's not like favorable for politics.
No, no, and that's the only thing that's been stopping it here is the politics.
You know, I really wish like if someone could just capture all the bears from Connecticut and let them loose in downtown Chicago, that would be great. Like that's some politics I can get behind, you know?
Oh yeah,
Relocating
a lot of damage.
Connecticut bears. What's that?
So they do a lot of damage.
Yeah. It'd be cool, like
more.
just eat some city people, you know?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't mind taking them to some of the cities around here either.
We actually shouldn't joke about that, because then like we'll try to get canceled by Connecticut and Chicago. But it'd be good for them. I think it'd be good for those people to get a taste of some bears, some bear interactions. You know, they might start thinking right again, or for the first time.
Let them snatch their dog out of their backyard and eat it and see how they like it.
That's what I'm amazed at. Like California, you can't hunt mountain lions, and unless that's changed. But
I don't know. As far as I know, I don't think it's changed, but I don't understand that either. I mean,
you can watch YouTube video after YouTube video of security cams of guys like golden retrievers and stuff getting jacked out of the backyards by lions. It's like, we're not going to address this issue of like the influx in mountain lions. Like, still got to manage it. What's going on? But back to deer hunting. When you came from the Midwest, or when you came to the Midwest and hunted, then went back home, were you kind of like, what was the feeling when you went back home? Did you feel like you were still in the Midwest, like you wanted to go back, or did you just adapt quick? Does that make sense?
Question? I mean, I kind of adapted quick. I mean, it was, my whole mindset and my goal, or, my goal buck, or what I was after, obviously that had to change very quick, because I'm not going to see the same caliber of deer as what was out there.
And you did get on bucks in Illinois, like for people that, so we don't just skip over that detail, like you were in deer.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was drawn on probably a 140, maybe 145. I just, first light, I couldn't see him in my peep, and I had him 25 yards, but yeah, we had an opportunity for sure.
Yeah. See, that's exciting. Like you come that far, at least you had, it's more doable in all these states than what people think, probably. But it wasn't like you came out here and just like, I mean, did you even really see that many people? Because you hunted public when you're out here.
No, we didn't see, I'm trying to think of the two different places. We didn't really didn't see. One place we saw a couple cars, but not hardly anything. And then the other spot, because when we came, our goal was to get there before the rut. So we got there like pre-rut we were there like Halloween, like the week leading into Halloween. So our goal was to try and get on some good action, but beat the rush of, everybody wanting to get there for the beginning of November, first week or two in November.
Yeah, that's a smart game plan. I mean, it did work out. I mean, the deer were moving, the bucks were starting to get up. Like it was a good week to be there. I mean, proved that you had a chance on it. And I don't know how hard that area gets hit, but I know it does get hit. And I think last year, shouldn't be pumping up my state like this on the podcast, but it's anywhere you go if you're willing to put in a little work and drive and spend the money to get out here. We had a guy come out. I won't say his name so he doesn't get like put on blast and bothered for a spot, but he came out and killed a buck in a similar area that you guys were in.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's probably your buck.
Yeah. Well, somebody killed the one that Dan had seen. I remember you sending us a picture later in the year.
Oh yeah, that was for sure that deer.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even remember how I got that information. I'll have to,
I don't know, because I think the guy got it during gun season, I want to say.
oh shit. Interesting. I forgot about that because he was on some good ones too. I was hoping so bad you guys would get one. And
Yeah,
you guys are close.
we had good action, and then you got two nice ones when we were out there, so that was cool. Get to see those
Yeah.
and celebrate that too. So that was a good time.
Yeah, you guys are my good luck charms. I need you guys to get back here this fall and do it again.
Yeah, oh, I'm definitely coming back.
Well, the nice thing is now too is like you kind of have the lay of the land. Like it's just like anywhere you go elk hunting for the first time, you're kind of just feeling it out. Like maybe you don't expect to kill one, you hope you do, but then like okay, you did some of that scout work. When you go back, you're already kind of like got an idea, and then you could take your intel a little further.
Oh yeah, for sure. Last time we kicked around in one spot for a couple days, and it just really wasn't what we were looking for. So then we moved, and then we got into deer pretty quick over there. So we would save all that time that we wasted the first half of the trip last time, and go right back to the spots where we had some action and some luck previous. So that would save us a lot of time there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a real good point. Like just finding where they're at's a challenge and then going in further. But I figured you'd find them in both spots just because I know there is deer there. But you're right. It's a good point. So, yeah, man, that's interesting. So I feel like I've interviewed some people in the podcast. Biddy Boosh, Rachel Bushak, a great friend of ours from Pennsylvania, and she did the podcast, and I think she got a lot of good reviews, but some mixed reviews because she was very harsh on Eastern states and their hunting and some of the hunting culture. Did you ever listen to that episode?
Yeah, I heard that one.
She kind of, she kind of had, I don't want to say she's bitter because that's a harsh way to put that, but she's, you're a little more chill about it. Like you're just kind of like, yeah, man, it's fun. And then she's kind of like, yeah, hunting these states suck because of this, and she gave her reasons,
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I'm lucky that I have access. Like we have our family farm, and then I have access to another 350-acre farm that really I'm the only one that hunts it, and then my dad comes out with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have access to pretty exclusive property that I don't have to worry about sharing, and we don't really have many neighbors that on those places that do hunt. Now, some areas people probably have a lot different experience, and they're dealing with people trespassing,
Yeah, the
and I do.
pressure.
Yeah, and I mean, I do the one farm that's my dad's buddies. I mean, I've caught a lot of people in there trespassing, not hunting, but just thinking that just because there's this big piece of property, they think they could just hike right through it and ride four-wheelers and do whatever they want. They don't,
Right.
the signs that's in the big gate that says, and the sign on the gate that says no trespassing, they thought that didn't apply to them, but
Yeah, it applied to everybody else, but not them.
yeah. Yeah, so that part was frustrating. There are a lot of people that just around here, they're entitled, and they think because somebody has a bunch of property that they just go do wherever they want. But
And I don't know if that's probably true everywhere, but I just wonder what, like, I just feel like the hunter density is a little greater out there. There's more people out east.
yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what Rachel was kind of like expressing, so like the pressure, maybe some of the culture mindsets in the hunting, which is not bad. It's all perspective, which is why we're interviewing several different people from the eastern states. But like, what in general, what do you think would be the morale between you being chill and not really as worried about it? And we'll just, for the sake of picking on Rachel, shout out to her. She's elk hunting right now. Hopefully she gets one. Her being a 10 as being like hostile and wanting to change things in the eastern states. Where do you think the average eastern hunter is from your perspective? I know it's hard to speak on, but for the sake of conversation, let's try and nail it down.
I would say probably, like, if I'm thinking, the state I mainly hunt is Connecticut, so I'm going to think of Connecticut as a whole. I would say the majority of people probably like things the way they are. They like to fill a lot of tags. They like to have a lot of opportunity where they could hunt, all year, and and have a ton of tags that they could fill. And
Yeah.
then I see on social media, there's, a smaller majority that would like to have the number of tags reduced so we could get better quality deer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's about what I thought it would be, but that's good. I mean, I don't know. Like, that's tough to change. There's things that I would change about Illinois, and I'm sure everybody in whatever state they're from has something they would want to change about tags and restructuring, how they restructure non-residents and all that. Because I can't imagine Connecticut gets a ton of non-resident hunting unless it's someone like, was born and raised there like you, and just you're from there. You just happen to live in a different state close by.
Yeah, it's not going to be a big draw unless you live, like, I know there's some Massachusetts people that'll go over the border and hunt Connecticut. But yeah, you're not going to be drawn in any people that have no ties or aren't close to that.
I'm not coming from Illinois to Connecticut to hunt.
And if I would laugh at you if you wanted
to. I just don't ever see it happening. Like, I've got invites to hunt Pennsylvania and stuff like that. And it's nice, I probably will one day. But like in the foreseeable future, I just don't need to. And a lot of us too is like, why don't you go over here and hunt this piece? Like, oh, you got a good piece of public that's 2 hours to go hunt that. And my answer always is, I'm not going to leave deer for deer.
No, I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, if you have, you kill a caliber deer that you typically kill every year or that you get on every year, what do you need to go somewhere else for unless you have already filled those tags?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So, but that being said, if I do fill my tags this year, if old WD is still living in Indiana, I might have to go call him, and I'll probably be doing him a favor at this point.
Well, yeah, shoot, that was 2 years ago you saw him, right?
He can't be alive still. He can't. If he is, I would be shocked. But we did get a picture of a deer last year that we were debating could have been him. But I don't know. I don't see him making it very much longer.
Is Ross's Don Vito buck still alive?
I don't know. I don't think so. Ross would be the guy to really nail that down. That was that buck that just looked like Don Vito, from Beaver LaBam. Like, he just was big belly, slow going. I hope he is. He's kind of become like a living legend, that old, just heavy, kind of poor genetics, but just a monarch all at the same time.
I mean, to me, deer like that get to that age are just as impressive, whether they're 160 or they're 110.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, if you got the tag, maybe Illinois, you guys get 2 tags, so maybe that's not the one that you want to burn if you only have 1 tag. But like, I know
hard to pass though.
Yeah, because that one Ross last year, he killed the old buck last year too, didn't he?
Yeah, an old brute, the old 96. I give him crap about it because if he would have killed like a 125 or better, we would have won bow hunting league. And then he shoots one with one side. And I'm not really giving him crap. I'm just kidding with him, but I'm like, man, the 1 year, you shot a 202 the year before, and then he shoots a 96-incher one side, but an old mature deer.
Yeah, good. The year before it was double the score, and then he cut it in half on the next buck.
Right. And it was a really cool deer. I think it might have had kind of a one side. I can't remember actually the way it was, but he had a big abscess and just was in rough shape. He really did the right thing, and I would have done the same thing. But as far as Don Vito, the legend of Don Vito, I don't know. We need to do a podcast about that buck, just one of the ones that got away,
Yeah, I stopped hearing him, in the group talking about him or mentioning him. So I didn't know if he was still around, because I knew last year he killed the old one, but I remember he said that it wasn't Don Vito. So I didn't know if Don Vito was still out running around or not.
Well, Ross has a trail cam video of Don Vito walking through. There's like a cattle gate, and he's like, I think it's like an old cattle gate, something like that. He walks out in this pasture, and the way he's walking is just, it's really cool, and it's really pretty footage, but you can see his age and the way that he like gets around. He just looks like an old dog. An old dog when it's just pushing at the end of its life, and it's walking off the porch, how it's kind of like waddling and just moving slow. And you're kind of like, ah, poor thing, man. You know, that's how it walked.
You just tell that it just everything hurts every
Joints
time.
are hurting. Yeah, but it's incredible when you think about a deer like that. It's like, how has he avoided death for that long?
Because y'all got a lot of coyotes too out there, right?
Yeah, look at Austin's situation. It's not
Oh
far.
yeah, shoot, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had not far. Oh, 2 days ago, I don't know how many trail cam pictures of coyotes in all 5 minutes. I mean, maybe 10 or 12 together, but I mean, coyotes, gun seasons, deer drives, cars, farm equipment. I mean, that old buck had survived that for who knows how long. I mean, 7, 8, 9 years or longer. I guess I'll have to ask Ross. I think Don vetoed. We need to do a tribute podcast. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Cut in some of the old trail cam videos and pictures.
Yep, exactly. And I wonder, like, if any listeners are listening or watching this, like, man, that's a good segment. Like the one that got away. We just talked with Lee Herr about one that's a podcast that's I don't know if it'll be out yet or not, but just recorded. But he talked about a buck that got away. But it's like, I wonder how many of them like hunting camp legends, like them old brutes, like how many of them stories are floating out that people have real history with, not just one sighting and then they told all their buddies.
I'm sure there's lots of crazy stories that, ones that people seen years and years and years, just always one step ahead, couple minutes too early, too late kind of deal.
I always question it though, because if it's not like hard trail cam evidence with like some structure to the story, it's always fun to hear the stories, but I don't think you really believe them until someone's got like the patternable history, because it's like the old timer stories you hear, which I love. Like growing up, there's this cattle trough where they'd put cattle feed in, and for like 8 years hunting this or longer, this old farmer's like, the cattle trough buck, he's there every year. And it's just like, he was always like a 200-inch deer for 10 years,
No, jeez.
So it's like, there's some truth to it. Probably a similar buck for years and years, but it's like, is it really the same deer? It's fun to think about, but probably not.
Yeah, we had one, that one, I don't know if you remember, but it was that wide buck I had last year that I sent you pictures of. For us, that was, I mean, me and you were talking and we were saying he'd probably go close, if not 140, close to it. And for us, that was, that's a really good deer in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I had him just based on years of trail cam pictures. I would have said he was 8.5 at least.
Yeah.
But I never actually saw him. I only had pictures of him, and they were always at night, except for maybe like 2 in some like real thick areas where I wouldn't even go in and hunt. And last year, I don't know that he's still alive. We haven't seen him, any pictures or history of him since November. But last year, my brother-in-law on opening day of gun season was supposed to take the day off, was going to hunt one of our food plots in this blind that my dad built. And his family owns a heating oil company. So in the winter and the fall, they get busy, and he couldn't end up taking off. And right at first light that morning, 20 yards, deer was dogging a doe right in front of that blind on camera.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. I wasn't too disappointed, because I knew he'd still be running around and I'd get a crack, hopefully. But
well, hopefully he shows up.
I'm hoping.
Maybe the rut will get him out.
Yeah, he's always been around, but he just was sporadic and a lot of nighttime, activity. I know a guy that used to hunt there before my dad bought it. He'd seen him a couple times, really? But I've never actually seen him in person.
Deer, they can elude you, man. Like that creepy, the buck I shot a few years ago I had him aged. He was 5.5, and I knew about him for 3 years, and I've seen him twice in person. One of the times is when I shot him, but that was his home range. I'd have pictures of him a lot, but it was just kind of like, what's he doing? There's missing pieces to the puzzle that I've, since figured out, of course. But So now I'm just hoping another deer does similar things as him, because I'm like, well, now I know how to play that game if he plays the same game as that deer did. But dude, interesting conversation. Little Eastern state, Midwestern stuff. Old legend stories are always fun. But behind you, you have like this insane trophy room, and you showed me a little bit before we started recording. So I was wondering if you could just give us a video tour with your computer quick, and kind of explain why the hell are all those animals there? Like, what's the deal?
So I'll do the best I can with carrying my laptop around, making sure you guys can see everything.
Yeah, you might just have to go a little slow, but it's good enough. People are catching the vibe. So
I'm at my dad's house, and this is his trophy room. It's a little dark, but hopefully you could see pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically been all over the world and goes on all kinds of crazy trips.
It's so awesome. That's like a Tom Miranda style trophy room, you know? Is that a rhino?
Yeah. Full size rhino.
Wow.
His brown bear.
Did your dad just kind of add like a Morton building style addition to your guys' house and then just finish it in?
He did put an addition on for this room, but he kept it consistent with the rest of the house. But yeah, he quickly ran out of room in the other room. I mean, he has a pool table, and you used to not be able to play because you'd be bumping into an animal on the wall no matter where you turned.
That's awesome, man. What a collection. Oh, he has a giraffe.
2 giraffes. My brother shot one.
Wow.
There's one.
Big kudu. All sorts of cool stuff. An elephant, a lion, Cape buffalo, crocodile.
Yep. He's got a big gator. He hasn't got back yet. I think it was like 11-footer.
That's incredible.
You got the
oh, that's a big kudu too. What's this is going to be a question that's going to arise. They're going to ask what your dad does for a living. And I know, but I think it'd be great if you explained it.
He's an OBGYN.
Nice.
So yeah, he delivers a lot of babies and does other things to pay for all of this.
Very cool, man.
Nyala.
Big Nyala. Yeah, that's cool. I've always wanted to add on like my wife and I were just talking. It's like if we ever get the money one day, add on a room like that, just for more space. But it's just kind of neat.
Yeah, as big as this room is, he's filled it up really, really quick, and he's got a lot of animals that are still at the taxidermist that he hasn't even gotten back, and he's got more trips that he's going on. So he's always adding to it. So he's eventually he's going to build another house that it's going to be a smaller house, but the room will probably be bigger than the rest of the house because he's going to need the space for the animals.
It's pretty incredible. Just have him build like a 120 by 120 shop and just fill that.
That's what I told him. I told him up at the farm, he's just got to put like one of those like Morton buildings and then finish it real nice on the inside and just have it just freaking like a bar and pool table and just nothing but animals.
Yeah, and then just invite us out and we'll hang out. And then like when he wants to pay for us to go on hunts together, you know, we'll just do that.
Yeah, there you go.
So just tell him I said that, and then let me know what he says.
Yeah, he'll be home in a little while. I'll let him know.
Just be like, Kurt, I know you don't know him. Kurt's a decent guy. He said, let's go on a hunt, but you got to pay for it. You have to fund
it. Yeah, like we'll go wherever you want to go. You just pay for it.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean, I'll bring my microphone.
Yeah, you know, we'll do a podcast. You know, maybe you'll get famous. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna start doing. Just going past you to get your dad on and just butter him up until he takes us on hunts.
Yeah, this wouldn't be a good one for him. He'd do better on the working class episodes. He would not be real well keeping it clean on here.
Well, we need to get him to fly out to the studio and have him tell some stories. That'd be a good excuse just to come out.
Oh, that would be sweet. He got stories for days. He could.
Would he do it?
I mean, might be able to get him to do it.
Ask him. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? You guys come stay here and we'll just do we'll do Shawn's dad story series.
And I'll just sit there and drink and just listen.
Yeah, I have your mic turned off.
He's got stories for days. You'd have to cut out some time, and you could put a couple episodes together for
Well,
that.
you can tell. I mean, as well as I do, as well as our listeners. You go, if a guy's got 5 whitetails in his trophy room, each one of those deer is a good story, a good long story. If you got the time, they'd probably be willing to tell it. So if you look at a trophy room like that with, I don't know what, 100 some animals in there. I don't know what he's got, but that's a lot of stories. Each
Oh
one's
yeah,
a story, so it's pretty cool.
yeah, it's cool stuff. He's been everywhere.
He needs to start taking you a little more, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we've been some places. He's
Yeah.
some of the crazy ones. I'm like, some of them are pretty expensive, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have the money, and those ones he's not going to pay for me to go kill some of the some of the really expensive ones. So
Yeah.
I go on some of the other ones.
That's pretty cool, man. Well, thanks for jumping on with me today. I know you're probably in the middle of your work day, so I appreciate you taking the time and BSing Eastern states and Midwestern hunting and urban whitetail legends. So it's good to catch up with you, man. I think the next time you need to be in studio trying to chase another Midwestern whitetail around.
Sounds good to me, man. I appreciate you having me. It's good talking.
Hey, where can people find you?
I got Instagram, Polke, Polke 23.
Perfect. You're a simple guy.
Yep, nice and easy. My last name and what my baseball number was. That's it.
Perfect. Well, thanks everyone tuning in, watching, listening, whatever you do. We appreciate it. You know what to do. Go shoot a giant. Later.